When it comes to producing rock music, my weapon of choice has always been Logic Pro. And one of the reasons why I like it so much is the fantastic session players, especially the drummer, which was the first one to be released several years ago, and I happened to learn my way around it, and I discovered many things about it. And one of the things that I always loved is how easy it is for me to program, or how fast it allows me to program drums on any given track at any given moment. But one of the things that I not necessarily like is the limitations that comes with the sound library that is part of Logic. But in this video, I'm gonna show you how I developed my own technique that allows me to swap the entire performance from drummer onto a much better, beefier, much more robust sounding sound library with the added benefit of splitting the signal of all of the different elements that are part of the drum kit into individual tracks for further mixing. So with that being said, let's get into it. Alright, so here we go, let's begin. First and foremost, let's listen to what we're gonna be working on today. So you can hear we are dealing with a very heavy, in instruments-wise, a mix. So the plan is going to be for me to take advantage of the drums created through the use of Logic's drummers, which happens to be a fantastic tool, one of my favorites out of the whole Logic Pro suite. And we're going to be expanding upon the sound that is capable of producing by swapping the library that we're rocking. For this technique to work, we have to look at drummer or any of the session players as a glorified MIDI sequencer. Because in reality, what the drummer is producing is basically a series of notes, MIDI notes to be precise, that will be the ones that will be triggering any form of audio library that you might be rocking or virtual instrument. Right now we're using the one that is built in, which is this guy over here, which is the drum kit designer. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't sound bad, but it's not great, and we want great. So the first thing to do is going to be swapping this bad boy for a completely different library. This time around, I'm going to be using one library coming out of Kontakt 7. And of course, first thing, we're going to be going over there and swapping the plugin for Kontakt 7, but we're going to be picking, very important, multi-output instrument, probably the most important aspect of today's operation. More on that later. So I'm going to be selecting this guy, 8 stereo for 8 mono. Now we got it. I'm going to be looking for the library that I'm going to be swapping the drums with. In this case, I'm going to go for Abbey Road's Modern Drummer, which is a fantastic library. And since I already have a sound in my head, I'm going to go straight for the white kit full. Okay, now the library is fully loaded. Let's take a listen to what we got right now. That's not what we heard a few minutes ago. That's because we're dealing with a completely mismatched MIDI mapping. Let me explain. When you're dealing with sound libraries, you will have to map them out, as you can see here on Kontakt. Each of these colors represents different instruments. Even by hovering my mouse over each of those notes, it tells you what kind of sound you're going to get out of that one. The thing is this, every single manufacturer, when it comes to sound libraries, will organize the sounds in any form they like. And of course, there are some form of standards when it comes to this. Right now, we're having an issue because Logic is being triggering or is following a particular MIDI mapping, which is known as GM, and is not the one that this library is aligned to. So what I have to do first is this. I'm gonna go over here to my Kontakt library and I'm gonna go for options. Then you can see that we got MIDI mapping. Perfect. So since I know that Logic is using GM as the standard, or as the way that it organizes its sound libraries, I've just gotta go there and I will select the first one, the one that I need, which is GM. But you can see that we got compatibility for beat drums, which is the standard used on Roland electric drum kits. And also you got here BFD, which is big effing drums, if you know what that is, a great sounding library. Or Easy Drummer, for example. So I'm gonna select GM. And by doing that, you saw that the coloring of the keyboard here changed because it's now following a completely different MIDI mapping. Now let's press play and hope for the best because it should work now. It worked!
Of course!
Because the performance coming out of Logic's drummer are in sync with the library that we just loaded. Perfect. Now the next stage is gonna be allowing myself to be able to mix it correctly by splitting the signal coming out of the drum kit into different signal pads, similar to what you would do if you were recording a real-life drum kit. That means that I wanna be able to have my kick, my snare, toms, so on and so forth, into individual channel strips for me to mix them correctly. How to do that? This is the point in which the whole foray with multi-output instruments kicks in. If I go straight to my mixer over here, you'll see that my channel strip containing the drums has something extra, which is the set of buttons. These buttons, if I click on them, see what happens. It's creating new auxiliary tracks here on my mixer. But if you pay close attention to each of those auxiliary tracks, you can see that the input, it's now telling me that it's connected to Kontakt 7, 3, 4 in this case, 5, 6, so on and so forth. What does that mean? That means that Kontakt is now able to route out independent sounds from each other through different buses. Okay? That's actually good because that's what we want, right? So now, in order for me to split the signal, I gotta go once again back to Kontakt. And instead of working with my options, now I gotta go to the mixer. Bam! On the mixer, you can see that we got here the output section for the snare because it's the one that comes selected by default. So, right now we only got the master. But why is that? Because we gotta go now to the view area and bring out the outputs. In here you can see that we got output 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 6 and 7, matching what we got with what we got on our Logic session regarding the inputs of the auxiliary tracks that we created, right? So as you can imagine, it's just a matter of swapping or getting this output to be the one that is feeding each of those outputs on the output section. And you might be saying, dude, you don't have enough outputs on your outputs area of your Kontakt. Yeah, because you can create them here. By clicking on this button, you can create them as your hard contents. The thing is this, that's tedious, and also, well, it's gonna take a while for me to organize them in a way that makes sense for my mix, right? Here's the big one. You can create your own user preset, and in this case, you can see that I already have mine here, which is called Drummer Mix. If I click on it, look at this. Now I got overhead stereo, a roaming stereo, because they are matching all of the different outputs of my drummer session. So now it's just a matter of going once again to the output and selecting, but look at that, it's still not showing. Why? Because you gotta click on this guy. We gotta reset the virtual instrument. And now, look at that. Now it's just a matter of selecting the corresponding one. For example, right now we got selected the snare, so I'm gonna look for a snare, here it is. And if I press play, and everything goes according to the plan, I'm gonna be able just to get the sound of the snare coming out of an independent output here. It's working, but it's super loud because now the mix that we got before is all messed up. So I'm gonna reroute all of the different outputs of my mixer here on Kontakt, and once I'm done with that, I'm gonna come back to you. See you then. Okay, now that I did it, let's confirm that everything is going out through their own independent output. Of course, since we already know that it's gonna be quite messed up, the mix of our drums, I'm gonna take all of those guys down for now in Logic, because I wanna make sure first that everything is coming out from Kontakt through their own independent channel strip. So I'm gonna press play, and we should be able to see all of those sections here, all of our meters jumping independently. Excellent. Now, the next thing to do is, of course, just making sure that we are getting the exact sound coming out of Logic. For example, the first one, since I know that is overhead stereo because it's the one that is outputting through 1 and 2, if I push this fader, is the one that controls the output of Logic containing that particular channel strip. That is the one that is being fed by the overheads. We should hear overheads. Let's see. Now they confirm that the audio is working correctly and the routing is proper, it's time to turn those auxiliary tracks into audio tracks. The way to do it is easy. Look, I simply will select this channel strip, and if you right click on this area, you will be able to see that we got different options. This is the one we need. The key command is Control T. By doing that, you will turn that auxiliary track into an audio track, and it's going to show on our arrangement window, which is what we need. But I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I want to turn all of those guys, all of the different channels that I created containing the individual outputs of the drummer. I want to add them, but I will also label them correctly. For that, I got an automation that I made using my Stream Deck. I'm going to select all of the channel strips that I created, making sure that I created every single one of them. Yeah, perfect. And then I'm going to push that special button and look at what is going to happen. Excellent. Now, if everything goes according to the plan, and now that we got one channel strip that is called kick, if I solo that bad boy, we should be getting just the kick. Nice. It worked. Even though my automation worked correctly, you can see that I still got, if I go to my mixer, some of the junk auxiliary tracks that are just leftovers of the whole process. I'm going to select them here and then delete them. Delete anyway because they contain no output coming out of Kontakt. Now let's make a brief mix. Before doing that, of course, I will rearrange the order. One thing regarding these Kontakt libraries, for whatever reason, whenever you split them, you gotta always go to the bus section over here and select the reverb because it's super high in volume whenever you split the signal. So I'm gonna take it down and see the sound we're gonna get now. So there you got it. That's how you can get the most out of your Logic drummer.
Of course!